Hi, you two. It's Arwen, the professional joy seeker and professional tarot consultant and professional goofball today. We've been chatting before we started, so we're both already a little in a giggle mode. I am delighted to invite, interview, and grill somebody that I don't really know. I know she's like, oh God, I'm off here. But when I was asking y'all for people to interview, you kept saying, well, I would get Natalie. Did I get Natalie Suzzann? Did I get Natalie on this channel? Natalie on that channel? I'm like, which Natalie do you people want me to talk to? And somebody finally said it was one Natalie. And I would like you to introduce you to my fellow curly head, Natalie. Welcome.
Thank you.
So how are you this morning?
Well, other than the naturally unruly mane that my hair clips have suddenly disappeared for, I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, that's why people think I use this because I can't hear. No, it's to keep my hair out of my face. Yeah. I don't know about you, but my husband likes to drive with the windows down. And yes. I'm scrambling for any kind of hair tie or just tying it up on itself if I don't have a hair tie.
I keep those little claw clips on my purse, on the handles of my purse, so I can just, because yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a big giant one, and that's exactly where mine lives. I have two. One stays on there, and one lives in the bathroom. So, So curly-headed witches, pay attention.
That's right.
And don't look at the hair, because as we were talking, I looked over, and I'm like, oh my God, my hair is eating itself again.
Yeah, it's not just mine that does that. Then, like, it knots from out of nowhere.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. I mean, I had it all nice and neat up in a ponytail while I slept. I don't do the whole silk pillowcase and satin pillowcase. I know I'm supposed to, but...
Oh, yeah. Who's got time or money for that?
Well, and I have cats. And if you've ever had a fat cat try to sleep on a silk pillow, you end up with a cat on your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we have my daughter's dachshund. My daughter moved back in with us recently, and she brought her little dachshund with her. And he decides to use my face as his, chair often. I wake up to dog butt in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. we have five. I can count 5 dogs, and 3 of them are. No, 2 of them are definitely dachshund mixes. One we're not sure. He's definitely Schnauzer or something. But the 2 dachshunds are like right on you
constantly. Yeah, we have a blue heeler that literally I was laying down on the couch the other night, and I thought it was I swear she's a pit bull dachshund mix. She's the weirdest looking animal I've ever seen. I call her my goblin dog, but she's very, very sweet natured. And I thought it was her trying to get up on the couch, and I look up and it's the blue heeler's now laying the entire length of my body because he's as big as I am when he stands up. And so he's laid himself across my body, and I was like, really, dude? Really?
Yeah. I had a standard poodle who weighed a very light 75 pounds, and when people would come over, he would sit, like, he'd back up and sit on them. Then he learned, a friend of mine who's a male friend came over and was throwing the ball, and Crouton was my first standard, and Paul throws the ball. Paul, if you're watching, you remember this, and Crouton comes back. Well, Paul gets the bright idea to hide the ball between his legs.
Oh, no.
Crouton jumps back and pops his feet right where he thinks the ball is. Well, he gets another 2.
He got the wrong ball.
And Paul gave...
Sorry, Paul.
Oh, my God. He gave just like a whee kind of squeak. Well, Crouton then decided that all men were squeaky toys. And no man was ever safe again in my house. I would say, sit down like this.
They need to wear a cup. If you come to my house, wear a cup.
It's awful. So this is my 13 things I want to know about you. And I've got 20 questions because I don't count so well.
5 dogs.
5 dogs. And 4 cats. So my question for you is, the first one, what's the first thing, just the childhood memory of witches? How did you first learn that there was something called a witch? Was it a cartoon? Was it a neighbor lady?
It's hard for me to go back that far at this point in my life. One of my earliest memories obviously was Wizard of Oz. I mean, we used to eat that movie up when it would come on as kids because they would always show it at the same time of the year. It was in the fall.
Yes.
They would show Ricky Tikki Tavi, The Hobbit, and The Wizard of Oz, like one week, one the next week. And I was enamored with the idea of flying monkeys you could sick on people because I thought that was great. But and probably my most positive early memory would be some of the I was always very interested in like mythology and fairy stories, things like that. You know, my great grandmother was from Ireland and used to say things like, "Faith, Natalie, don't be playing about after dark. The little people would come hither on you will never be seeing you again." You know, and you know, when you're 3, you're like, "Oh my God," you know, horrible woman. But you know, it got me interested in those kinds of things, and so I started reading a lot of like the Scottish myths and fairy stories and things like that, which involved some magical creatures and witches and that sort of thing. And then there was a little book that I remember checking out about maybe 3rd grade, maybe. I don't even remember the name of the book, but I do remember the spell that was in the book because the little witch had gone fishing and the wind stopped blowing and she couldn't get her boat back to shore. So she cast a spell to cause the wind to blow to get her back to shore. And I remember telling my mom, "Hey, check this out, Mom. It really works." And so I incanted the little spell and the wind blew and my mom freaked out. Totally freaked out because I grew up in a very staunch Church of Christ Christian household.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Southern Church of Christ. So you know how that went over. Yeah. And that was, yeah. But I mean, it's always kind of been there because I've always had like premonitions and I've always just kind of known things. Like it's weird. I was talking to a friend of mine last night about it that, you know, I can pull up, you know, like if I look on my chat list on Facebook, you know, on the messenger, somebody's name will pop up and I'll say, that person needs to hear from me. And I'll just shoot them a little message. I just want you to know that I love you today. And every single time somebody says, how did you know I needed to hear that today? I don't know. I just knew, you know, and things like that. And it used to just totally freak my mother out. And she would call me a witch. And like it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, from an early age. So it's hard to pick out just the one moment. That's always been there.
Strangely enough, the first spell work I ever tried, and I don't even remember where I read it. I read it in a book about witches whistling up the wind. Mm-hmm. And they started out very low and you up to a high pitch. I have never had that not bring wind to me.
Yes. Isn't that the funniest thing? I can still incant that silly little spell and it works for me. I don't know what it is. Now, I do remember one time, this is so bad. This is terrible, actually. There was this young man that I kind of had a crush on when I was younger. And he liked my friend, but things did not work out well between them. And we're probably maybe 3rd, 4th grade. And I remember that she and I incanted a little spell over a pentagram that we drew on the backyard in a circle. I don't even know where we learned that at this point. But we were like, you know, we want something bad to happen to him. He actually ended up going to the hospital that night. He fell and broke his leg. And so after that, I was a little cautious.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think we really expected it to work. And yet I was putting an awful lot of energy into that, thinking back on it now, because I was really irritated. It's just, you know, when you're a kid, you don't think about those things, but it's funny how that worked.
It is. It really is because, you know, and the way we learn our lessons can be a little painful. But I have to segue and tell you that one of the shows you mentioned, I would also add Me and My Arrow, because Arrow also was one of the ones that they cycled like that. But Ricky Tikki Tavi was such an amazing movie for me. I named one of my birds Tavi, and then I named her companion Ricky. I never got a Tikki. They were all the same breed. But in my fairy tale Lenormand, the serpent, the lady is a serpent. She's a Nagini, but she's a cobra, and we have a mongoose in it because it is based on the Rudyard Kipling tale of Ricky Tikki Tavi. So I love that movie.
Yeah, I loved it. I would sit and just wait for that and The Hobbit. I was so into The Hobbit that I actually read all of the books when I was really young. I've always been an avid reader. So.
I read The Hobbit when I was 9, and then they moved me on to the other ones because I read like through the children's books, and the children's librarian like dragged me over and went, "Here." I think she just grabbed the biggest book she could find.
Yeah, it's my cousins are all a lot older than me. Sunshine Morning Ray is my cousin.
I'm sorry.
Hear that, Trina?
She's gonna kick my ass.
But you know, I mean, I didn't get to know her as well growing up because she was older and had already moved out of the house. But I grew up with her brother and sisters, and you know, I was always reading a book. I always had my nose stuck in a book as a kid because they were all older and wanted to go play with my sister. So I was kind of, you know, but my cousins got me into, because we had some other cousins that were boys that were all into the Tolkien and all of that stuff. So, I mean, we're talking Turan Wanderer, the Black Cauldron, all of that stuff. That's another one of my earlier memories, the Black Cauldron.
That was a good one. Madam, what was her name? She's crazy.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Mem?
Oh, that was the wonderful, marvelous Madam Mim. That's Disney. That's King Arthur. What is that? The Sword and Stone.
That's it.
I love her. I love her.
Now,
her purple hair.
Right. I think now many of us. I keep saying I'm going to dye my hair some funky color, and my husband's going.
I know. Alvine green, her hair. I'm so in love with her hair. And I keep telling my husband, this is what because purple is my favorite color. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And he's like, but you own a business. And I was like, precisely. There's no one to tell me that I can't do it.
Right.
And he's like, but you have professional image to project. I was like, I can be professional with, you know, purple hair.
So now I have a question about what brought you to witchcraft. I mean, I know that you have your really old cousin, Trina.
Yes. Ancient.
Dirt old.
She's going to kill us. Nah, Trina, you look fabulous. Actually, you know, it was kind of always there. One of my biggest memories towards anything kind of witchy was, like I said, doing the little incantations and spells. I was writing my own poetry as a child. You know, I had to disguise it as poetry because my mom, you know, she would flip her lid. But I always had a very early interest in it. It's just that being in such a staunch household, I mean, you believed what my mother believed, and that was that, or you did not live in her house. Well, at age 11, I couldn't afford to be on the street. So, you know, I kind of tried to go along with, you know, I mean, to me, it's a form of brainwashing. Because they're telling you that if you don't believe this, you're going to go to hell and you're a bad person. And so I was never really allowed to explore. But over the years, I remember when I was about 11, a friend of mine, two of my friends, and I went to a carnival. We had a city park that wasn't too far from our house. And we actually had like a drainage ditch system that you could get to anywhere in the neighborhood a lot quicker going through the ditch system than walking around. So we went to the park because they were having some sort of like a fair carnival, and they had a freak show, and one of my friends wanted to go to this freak show. So they also happened to have a fortune teller there. And I was very skeptical, you know, being I was kind of at that age where I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't believe anything, you know. And so we went in, and we could only go in one at a time. They wouldn't let us go in all together as a group. So it was just the three of us. So my friend Nancy went in first, and she never would tell us what the woman told her. But she came out so wigged out that she just wouldn't even discuss it, and visibly upset and shaken. And so then my friend Becca goes in, and she comes out, and she's like, oh, hi, you know, she didn't believe in any of it. She was like, she told me I was going to meet some guy from far away. We were going to get married. That's a joke. Because Becca never had a boyfriend all through school. Now, we were young at this point, so it was before boyfriend age anyway. But, you know, she's like, she told me I was going to meet somebody from a distance and move far away, and ha, 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 ha. Here's the funny thing. She met a guy online after we graduated from college, moved to California from Texas and married him. And then sadly, he passed away in an accident. She moved back. But
oh, that is hard.
so I go in and I'm, I'm kind of like, and she's like, well, what would you like to know? And I'm like, yeah, you're the psychic. You tell me. What do I want to know? Just that kind of an attitude. And so I had never seen tarot cards before. So she had like her little crystal ball, which I've always liked those. She had a little crystal ball and, her cards. And she's telling me, oh, you're going to meet some tall man and you're going to have a long lasting relationship, but it's going to be tempestuous. And I was like, whatever, because I was always the ugly duckling. So I was like, yeah, you're right, whatever. And as I'm leaving, she grabs my hand and she says, I have something for you. And I said, oh, okay, So she comes back with a deck of cards that, if I remember correctly at this point, was the Rider-Waite deck, which I've never really cared for. But trying to remember, this was a long time ago. And she says, you have a gift. You should learn to use it. And she hands me the cards. And so I walked out and I'm like, hey, what did she give you guys? And they're like, she didn't give us anything. I was like, really? Cool. So I started kind of doing some research on what are these funky cards that she gave me, and making card houses out of them and stuff like that, because I had no idea what they were for. So I started to kind of learn how to use them. And then I started going, hey, this is kind of cool. So then I got into the whole like gypsy persona, and I had like all these, it's the 80s. So all these bangle bracelets to go with my jelly shoes. And I had like a bandana around my head. And, I'm doing fortune telling and I actually got pretty good with it till my mom found the cards hidden in my little hidey hole, and they promptly went into the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yep, went straight into the fireplace, and I never had another deck until about 2 or 3 years ago when Amy Webster gifted me a deck. And now I've got like 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Oh, that's
I know. Only 4 or 5, Trina, with your 40 million. Yeah.
I have almost 600.
Wow. Yeah, I have a long growing wish list.
We can help you with that.
Yeah, my husband is somewhat, he grew up Catholic. And so his thing was, how could you be, because I spent 20 years as a Catholic, and that's actually kind of what brought me ultimately to the witchcraft path. My interest in it has always been there, but I was always drawn to Catholicism, and I could never figure out why. My mother being Church of Christ was, oh, they're evil, idol-worshiping Satan lovers, might as well march themselves to hell right now, So when I became Catholic, my mother like all but disowned me. She tried to have our daughter taken away from us, and oh God, yes, it was so bad. My husband was in the Army when we first got married, and she called Child Protective Services and told them that he was beating me, that he was beating her, that he was sexually molesting her. And so not only did we get investigated by the state of Texas, but we were investigated by the U.S. Army.
Ooh, and neither one of those is an easy investigation.
Nope. Which of course they found nothing, because they talked to my daughter separate from us, and then they talked to each of us separate. Never found anything, of course. And so, after that, we didn't talk to my parents for quite some time. But I spent 20 years as a Catholic, a diehard Catholic. I was actually learning to be an apologist for the Catholic Church. And over time, I started to realize that, it was when I started actually studying the origin of the Bible, and I realized, okay. And then the common sense kicks in, and I'm going, okay, the Council of Nicaea 352, so 350 something years after the death of Christ. If you've ever played the rumor game at a party, you can't get the same message amongst 20 people, much less across 350 years, 324 years. And I had to come to the realization, because I had issues with it anyway, but I had to come to the realization that it just did not make sense to me. And about that time, I reconnected with Trina, and she was so open about her path. And I was like, wow, so I asked her, if I wanted to learn more about your religion, where would I turn? And she promptly put me on with Dr. Buckland's Big Blue. And I bought both the Kindle and an Amazon copy, which I have since gifted to somebody else, so I need to replace it. And that was that. I was like, yep, this is it. This is the truth. This makes absolute sense to me.
Didn't Matthew Fox, speaking of Catholic churches and heretics, didn't Matthew Fox also start out as an apologist, and that's what kind of set him off on the rest of his journey?
I think so. Yeah. Because, what happens is when you start delving into the history of the Catholic Church, you start realizing that a lot of what they do is absorbed from the pagan faiths, that there was something there beyond. Why was it all okay up to that point, and now all of a sudden it's wrong? And that just didn't make sense to me. And they can't really adequately justify, well, so who's going to heaven and who's going to hell? In terms of if this is their God is very conflicted. He's a merciful God, but he's wrathful. He's merciful, so he has mercy on those that didn't know him before, but he's going to send to hell all these people that are trying to live right but can't, because they just are fighting against their impulses. And I never liked the fact that they shame you for being human.
Yeah.
All of those things that come naturally to us as animals, because we're animals. We forget that. We think we're somehow magically above all the rest of the animal kingdom, and we might be at the top of the food chain, but we're not better than any other species. In fact, I think in a lot of ways we're probably worse, just because of our own arrogance. And so, this whole idea of you're made in the image of God, and well, everything is, because everything that is created has a bit of its creator in it. My business has my heart and soul. My core values are the values of my business, which to me is, you take care of the client. These people need our assistance. We give them the best quality care we can. And if you can't, you move along.
Yeah.
You pass them on to somebody who can. So, I had just such serious issues with that I just had to intellectually, and here's what I try to explain to my husband, because he's like, you have a master's in science. How can you've almost got a PhD. How can you believe in magic? And I said, because you're thinking Hollywood magic. You don't understand the concept of MAGICK. You think, like, my father is a magician. My dad's been a member of the Mile High Magicians for 50 years.
How fun.
Yeah. So, that's sleight of hand. That's MAGIC. There's a distinct difference. And so in terms of science, I just tried to break it down for him like this. I said, look, when I took my hearing science classes for my master's in speech, here's the deal. Everything on this planet, from every rock, tree, glass, person, has a fundamental frequency. They put out energy. He goes, well, if you're talking about it at an atomic level, yes, but rocks don't have a frequency. Yes, they do. It's called a fundamental frequency. And if I was to hit that fundamental frequency with my voice, I could shatter your body right now, just as the opera singer shatters the glass. That's how it works. And of course, he can't argue with me, so then he becomes angry. So then, I have to leave the house or go to another room, or, because it becomes so oppressive. But sometimes he's very accepting of it. And sometimes he's like, I just know how you can believe in this bullshit. You and your witchy bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to witchy your bullshit in a minute with my, when you're not looking,
Yeah.
But
yeah, when somebody tells me these don't have energy, these don't have resonance, I'm like, how do we make radio tubes then? How do we use them in lasers? How?
And if you can't harness the energy that's around you at all times, how in the hell does an incandescent light bulb work? And I bring that up, and I was like, Edison was the first to really kind of click with, gee, there's energy all around us. Gosh darn it, if I could harness this, I could use it. I said, that's all it is. I said, it's not Harry Potter or wands. We wish it was. That would be awesome, because I'd be zapping the shit out of people. But it's starting with you, dear. I said, yeah. But it does, but it doesn't. I mean, you're directing your energy, but it's not like, laser beams that are coming out. It's there. You just don't see it right off.
Yeah, otherwise we'd all have fembot bras and set them to stun. Sorry.
I've got my bubble. Exactly.
So let's ask you this, and I can ask you this because you're a Texas girl now that I know. Green sauce or red sauce?
Which one?
Green sauce or red sauce?
Both.
Christmas.
Exactly, both. Maybe even mixed together. Yeah, it really depends on my mood. I mean, I tend to go more for the red sauces, like the salsa. I make my own salsa, so because I like it fresh. I will eat paste because paste, if you're from Texas, I'm from San Antonio. I used to pass the paste factory every time I needed to open my sinuses.
New York City.
Yeah. Get a rope. I love those commercials.
my family helped settle Bexar County and New Braunfels.
Really?
And my great-great-grandfather was the first, I think, superintendent of San Antonio School District.
Oh, wow.
And if you remember the old Rilling shoe factory.
Yes.
They're my family.
Really? Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. I tell people I'm German, Scott, Irish, and I am like, and they're like, well, do you have Native American? Only as a hope.
Yeah. Well, I have some Cherokee. My great grandmother on my mother's side, my grandfather's mother was Cherokee, and his father was Scotch Irish.
Yeah. I did the DNA test, and I am 95% European.
Oh, wow.
Seriously, I mean, and my husband is 11% Native American. So and he was really surprised because we didn't know that about his family.
Well, I understand, I know my father's genealogy very well because his aunt had delved deep, deep, deep back past William the Conqueror in the family history, long before Ancestry was a thing. She did it all by hand. All her notes are handwritten. Mm-hmm. And she was just going back through record back when, it was difficult. But on my mom's side of the family, I know very little. I do know that her mother is a Holland. So if you go to Mineral Wells, we're all kin, which is why I don't live there. But there's Hollands up here in Denton County, too, that are kin to my family. In fact, when I was running newspapers here while I was still in school, we had a Mr. Holland, and I said, my grandmother's a Holland. He was a cantankerous old fart. He's like, oh, yeah? And I said, yeah. I said, Mary Sue McAfee. Mary Sue! I haven't seen her since the last family reunion. How's she doing? I was like, oh, my God, we're kin. Yeah. Whoa. Believe it or not, we actually still have a whites only cemetery here in Denton County. Wow. The gentleman, actually, I don't know if you can see it. This cabinet right here.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
Isn't that gorgeous? The gentleman that sold it to me, he runs, he's like a friendly version of Red Fox. He's got a Sanford and Son shop here in Denton, and he's actually the leader of the NAACP. He's trying to work to get that cemetery changed. But I was kind of ashamed to find out I got family buried there. There's like a ton of Hollands there. But her cousin fought at the Alamo.
Oh, yeah.
Tapley Holland. So, you go to Mineral Wells, and every kid, whether it's a boy or a girl, is named Tapley because they're all named after him. So we have some Texas roots that go back to, a ways, but
yeah, when I moved to Austin, I kept seeing a name that's in my family, and I finally went and looked at my genealogy and went, oh, well, hell, the man helped settle Austin and also was a founder of the Democratic Party, which then was not the party I particularly would have wanted my relatives to belong to.
Right.
Because they were the pro-slave, the anti-abolitionist.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I was like, a friend of mine at work, she was a manager and she's African American. We got to talking about genealogy, and I said who my relative was. She says, yeah, I think he owns some of my people.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Well, we both kind of had a moment, and then I said, well, I qualify for the Pioneers of Austin, and you do too. She said, let's go in together. We never did.
Oh, you should have. That would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful. Well, I am a daughter of the Republic of Texas, and we get that through my grandmother because of Tapley. But I was trying to get out Phil Collins. I don't know if you know, but Phil Collins has one of the largest private collections of Alamo memorabilia in the world.
Oh, really?
He just wrote a book about it because he's a huge Alamo fanatic. So he did a book signing here in Dallas, and I was like, man, I want to hit him up for coffee or something. I couldn't get away to get down there to this book signing when he was in town, but I really wanted to go and tell him I'm Tapley Holland's cousin. And
that's cool. I don't know that I had in our family. I don't think we had any who were at the Alamo, but we did have a lot that did the Civil War, both sides.
Yes, same here. Same here.
But we do have revolutionary. We go all the way back there. So, and then if I trace myself far enough back, we do have an English king. However, he's one of the crappy kings.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce.
Me too.
So
hey,
we're family.
What's your clan? Are you a Johnston?
No, I'm a Bruce. I mean, we're talking direct.
Oh, okay. No, we're a sideline, but we're part of the clan that when Stuart Charles II got pissed off at all the clans and kicked them out, 85% of my clan got booted. And we're part of the reason that the word bereaved is in the English language, because we were border Scots at that point. We were in Annandale.
Oh, there you go.
And the song, not the song, but the poem about the highwayman, comes a highwayman on a black horse.
Yes.
Johnston.
Really? See,
so goes the tale. I don't know, but so goes the tale.
Well, and that's why I tell people it's bad luck in my family to kill spiders. I won't kill spiders. We have widows all over the house, and I keep just trying to shoo the little ladies out because there's been a family that's been passed, a tale that's been passed down in our family for generations. I mean, literally, that when Robert the Bruce was running from the English, he hid in a cave, and a spider, you've heard the tale too, see, built the web across the cave, and so they didn't search the cave because they thought he would have broken the web, and that's how he was able to survive and actually eventually lead Scotland to freedom. But, the whole time we were watching Braveheart, my husband's like, "Your family scum." And I was like, let's delve into the Sedgwick line, shall we? Let's really see what they were up to in England. What brought them here? Let's talk about that. So of course, then he shuts up.
Yeah, no, let's see, I've got Kanes in Ireland, Johnsons in Scotland, and then unfortunately the English king would be Edward Longshanks, who lost his true nephew.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one whose nephew suddenly disappeared mysteriously out of the tower. Just disappeared. Poof. Yeah, amazing how that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, fella. But I'm related to one of his daughters from one of the, I don't know, Margaret, I think it was her name, but I'd have to look it up. But yeah, because I was so excited. I was like, ooh, I want to be related to royal. No, I don't want to be related to royalty.
Never mind. Well, the way to look at it is this: times were different then. It was a kill or be killed world, I think, to a little bit more of an extent than it is today. So,
Yeah. Maybe I could tell people I'm going to go all Longshanks on you.
Oh, there you go. Don't maybe go all Longshanks on your ass.
So, Natalie, in your belief system, is there an afterlife?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I mean, if you look at it just from the context of we are bodies of energy. We contain energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So what happens to your energy when you die? It's obviously released, but it's not gone. So I absolutely think that there's an afterlife. In terms of, do I believe in heaven? I don't know about that. I tend to lean more towards our energy gets kind of recycled. It's scattered and it's recycled in different ways. And I kind of subscribe to the belief that we're here for a reason. We were created for a reason. But I think it's in order to experience the full of the human experience. And so you kind of go through each of those human experiences until you've experienced all there is to experience about being human. And then I don't know what happens to you after that, if you become a guardian or a, I mean, honestly, when it comes to afterlife things, everything we say is speculation because we've never really been there and come back, have we? Or if we do, we don't recall it. So it's hard to say, but I do think that there's something beyond just this.
Yeah. And I like that. I've talked to so many. Sorry, gotta have that last drop of coffee. But I've talked to so many people in these interviews, and
there's no Baileys. Sorry, there's no Baileys.
I wish there was.
I need it today. I'll tell you what.
I'm sporting my bats mug.
Oh, there you go. I like that. I love bats.
A lot of people. I am a huge bat. I was a member of Tuttle's Bat Conservancy when I was about 12 or 13. It's actually what I asked for my birthday or Christmas one year.
Cool.
for whatever reason, and they've always been there. And I have tattoos. I'm a tattooed babe, but I don't have a tattoo of a bat. So I think that or the octopus are going to be my next ink pieces. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you the deserted island question. You're
Oh,
fixing to
okay.
get your ass on a deserted island. You've got your survival gear. I'm going to have to pitch that one in because, particularly you Texas girls, well, I'm going to take my thumb with a double edge and I'm going to go cut me
Yeah,
down.
I was going to say, I need my pistol and my buck knife. Yeah.
So you can take 5 magical tools. What do you take?
I definitely think, well, for me, it would be my Book of Shadows because my memory's so crap. I can't remember anything if I don't write it down. Let's make that number 1, Book of Shadows. I really don't feel that I would need some sort of plants. I would need a book on all the native flora and fauna so I can know what to do with what's already there, or some knowledge of that to just be imbued in my brain as to wherever I am, this is what you've got, this is what you can use. Because I don't think that you necessarily have to have a lot of tools. I think a witch's best tool is what's right in here. Yeah. And knowing what you got around you. But I love my itty bitty little baby cauldron. I could use it to keep me warm at night. And I do have a beautiful amethyst scrying crystal. I don't actually use it for scrying. I use it for meditation, like focal point for meditation. But there's something about that crystal. I could just hold it in my hands and it's smooth and it's soothing. And I would probably need that to soothe me while I try to figure out what the hell I'm going to eat.
So that bitch Arwen dumped me on a deserted island. What am I going to do now?
Jeez. All I need is my Book of Shadows, some knowledge of the local flora and fauna, and Morton Harkett's younger brother, and I'm good. That's
okay.
the magic tool I need. Woo!
That's not the kind of tools we're talking about, dear. Although I applaud you in your choice.
Sorry. So, boy is good looking.
Ooh. What herbs are must-haves in your kitchen and your altar room? Like they do double duty for you. And let's just
rosemary.
To 3. Rosemary?
Rosemary is a big one for me. I put that shit on everything. Literally. Harold, you're being an ass. Let me sprinkle some rosemary on the bed while you're sleeping. Let me sprinkle it around me to protect me from you. Yeah. Rosemary is a big one. I have that. I actually grow it in my yard, so I have it dried. I've got some in my office here. I keep it in the house. I have it growing it outside. I like lavender, but I'm not a huge, big lavender person. I know there's some people that swear by it. For me, it would be the belladonna. Got to have your belladonna, in my opinion, of the rosemary. Now, the belladonna, in terms of the kitchen use, is obviously limited. But I mean, I have used a little in the tea for relaxation purposes. But the three big, well, rosemary is the big one that comes to my mind. Garlic.
Okay, I like it. And people watching at home, if you'd like to try a little belladonna, too much will relax you permanently. So
be careful. It is definitely not something you want to do. Yeah, I mean, it's you need to know. Ask somebody before you do it. Don't try that at home, kids.
It's kind of like peyote. You don't want to just go out and chew on some peyote. You want to find somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. That can kind of help guide you through what's good, because it's all based on height, weight, and physiology. So
yeah. And I'm a big girl. I can have more than you can. No.
Go ahead. Yeah, brag.
So Natalie, who's the first YouTuber you can remember watching?
That's funny. Actually, it was the channel Witches of the Moon. I was never really into YouTube until Trina and I reconnected, and she was on Witches of the Moon. And so I started watching Witches of the Moon, and the two that stuck out to me the most, besides Trina, of course, were Tequila and Joey.
Morris.
The first video of Tequila's I watched was this one where she was saying stupid shit that people say to witches. And the video was just so funny. I showed it to everybody in the family because it was just so funny. And I just liked her frank, matter-of-fact way of putting it out there. And the other thing that I've always really admired about Tequila particularly, but Joey too, because Joey gets on there and she says what she's got to say, and I've learned a lot from her. But one of the things that I've always liked about Tequila is Tequila's all about the craft. She doesn't get into the drama, and Joey doesn't either. But I mean, you've seen people that get in these like witch wars. To me, that is so stupid. It's so high school. Be above that, you know. And so she's been one I've always stuck with because her videos are about the craft. And same thing with Joey. I learn a lot from Joey because I was always drawn to the Morrigan. And so watching, you know, my experiences with her seemed different than what I was seeing other people had. So watching Joey talk about her very personal relationship with that deity has helped me to understand that my calling to her may not be like everybody else's, and that's okay. And so those are the two that I really, whoops, I'm going to throw my jewelry around today. Those are it just kind of flew off. I don't know what happened. Those were my two big ones right off the bat, besides, you know, the channel.
Tequila was one of my first because Ember Honeyraven told me about Tequila and Sunshine. She said that I should watch, and particularly watch when they're on together, because they were fucking hysterical.
They are.
Stinking hysterical. I can't edit it out. Fucking.
It's all right.
Fuck. But, and I watched one where they were doing chicken feet. Now, I'm Wiccan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly, in my practice, I'm fairly balanced, but probably a little more fluffy and fluffy bunny. And I hate that term. I'll do a video on why. Mm-hmm. But, you know, but you were talking about the drama. Mm-hmm. The minute I see somebody, and let me tell y'all what, I don't care if you're saying that Natalie Suzzann is just mean. She was mean to me, and I don't think she should be mean to me. Mm-hmm. Or that Natalie Suzzann is stupid and she shouldn't be on TV. I don't care about either one of yours opinion, and I will unsubscribe and never come back. But
Yep. I did a video for the Biophilic Alternative on drama llamas and how so high school that is, and it's really detracts from because, you know, I have someone on my friends list that people seem to just target out for this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I feel that when people respond to it, it only invites more of it, you know. But I understand that sometimes it's hard not to, because when you're being targeted directly and people are making videos where they're naming you specifically, and people are telling you, do you know so-and-so saying this about you? You know, I don't care what anybody says about me. You don't like me? Don't subscribe. You can click the thumbs down all you want. All that does is put cha-ching in my pocket, because for every like or dislike you get, you're getting money in your pocket through your monetized videos. So I don't really care you don't like me. Now, it's annoying to me when people say stupid stuff that they can't back up. Like they make these ridiculous comments on your, oh God, yes. You know, there was a guy that, you know, okay, my Atame, I'm going to be honest with you, it's ugly. I know it's ugly, but it was the first time I'd ever tried to make something like that on my own. And I didn't have a saw or tools to cut the wood. So it all had to be done by hand. So I'm very proud of it, because to me, it works. It works for me. It's got more of my energy in it than sometimes I think my kids do. So, you know, this guy was going off about, you know, it's a kindergarten effort. It's so fucking ugly. You should just go buy one. And this other girl was shooting back at him about, you know, if you don't like it, why don't you buy her one? And finally I responded to both of them at the same time. And I said, here's the deal. Yes, by all accounts, it was a kindergarten effort, because it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. So it was a kindergarten effort. Number two, it works for me, so it doesn't matter what his opinion is. And three, I wouldn't want him to send me anything, because I wouldn't want his nasty energy mixed up in my magic.
Thank you.
And they both stopped responding. You know, but I just don't even respond to comments like that at this point, or I'll just say something like, thanks, have a nice day.
Yeah, sometimes I get hauled into it. Sometimes particularly when it's Mercury retrograde, my filter is really, really holy.
Yeah.
I go diving through. And I had somebody recently on one of my interviews, they said, you need to be careful being friends with
so-and-so.
They're not a nice person. And my response was, I'm a grown-ass woman. I'll pick my own friends, and you need to stay in your own hula hoop, dear.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. As long as they haven't given me a reason personally, because somebody's beef with somebody else's between them. We're adults. Let them deal with it, but don't be dragging me in. And I did a video a while back on it as well for, I think it was a video response actually to a deviant witchery video, because there was somebody who was targeting another person, somebody different, and they actually tried to pull Witches of the Moon into it and deviant witchery at the same time, because they posted an anonymous blog post that is so cowardly in my opinion. If you got something to say, you better say it and say who you are. But they posted this anonymous blog, and they tagged deviant witchery and Witches of the Moon in it. And it was when I was helping Aaron out with the channel before Aaron left and handed the channel over to me, and I said, don't involve us in this. We're a channel. We're here to educate the community and people new, or to share our opinions and views. We're not here to be involved in any drama. And I notified Deviant Witchery about it as well, who promptly responded. And I just said, we want nothing to do with any of this. This is not what we're about. We're here for educational purposes and to share opinions and views and pass learning and knowledge on to people who are trying to learn about this path. We're not here to teach them that this path is run by a bunch of infantile high schoolers who can't get over the drama because they want to be Miss Popular or the most popular. Enough.
Yeah. I was actually taught that you don't trust a witch who speaks against another witch. And it was just that flat line in my tradition. And a witch who lies, her spells won't work. That was something also that we were taught. Now, is that true? I don't know. Is it something you'd want to tell somebody who's a baby witch in your tradition? Maybe. It's a bordering kind of statement. You know, I don't know if that boundaries. It sets up boundaries for somebody to make them think before they speak, hopefully.
Right.
But it's a big deal for me, and the hula hoop thing, and anybody. And I honestly, don't come to me and say, so-and-so's being mean to me and attacking me. I don't care. I don't. We're all grown-ass people, and if you feed into that drama, you're going to get drama stew.
Right. Now, I'm in a group on Facebook called Call of the Morrigan, and I've had some words on there simply because they have a habit of attacking Joey Morris's stuff. Like, somebody will post her stuff because they like her stuff, and then there's this particular group in there that says something, and I did have some words with somebody because I was like, look, if you're going to be criticizing somebody's work, have a legitimate criticism of the work. Don't be just discounting somebody's ideals or what have you because you don't like this person or for whatever reason. My beef with that was that they weren't actually offering a critique of her work. They were criticizing the work or negating it. They were kind of dismissing it. And I said, if you want to have a legitimate discussion about why you disagree with something that she's saying, I'm cool with that, but don't just be on here attacking somebody. That's so ridiculous. And once I said what I had to say, I stopped responding. I said my point, and I made my point, and after that, I turned off the notifications, because after that, it didn't matter to me what anybody had to say.
And I
will stand up for somebody that I think is being unfairly attacked in a case like that, but I'm not going to feed into the drama and start name calling and all of that. I'm going to say what I have to say, and then I'm done. And after that, I don't care what you think.
I'm right there with you, sister, because I just called you sister. I am so sorry.
That's all right. No, I have no problem with that.
I tell people that me using that word is a great big huge thing for me, because tribe is tribe, but family, I'm from the South. My family's in Texas and Louisiana. Family means something really different to me. So
yes, I understand where you're coming from.
So I try not to say that without stuff going on. But what I was going to say to you is, if somebody did attack Ember, who is my girl, she's mine. I don't care what y'all say. But and Ember and I have known each other for over 15, 16 years now, maybe even 20. We've known each other a long damn time. And somebody said something, and I was already in a mood when I went and read it. And I went off. Because one, they don't know, And I've seen people do that to Joey, and Joey is real, y'all. She's the real thing. She's
definitely
not making this shit up. You know, and somebody just recently, and I'm going to say this, accused her of acting like she owned the Morrigan.
I saw that. I was like, you've got to she has never come across that way. She is very open about she has a close relationship with the Morrigan, but she's never come across as I own her. I've seen other people who've published books about her that act more like they own her or know more about her than Joey does. And that was part of what brought me into the conversation in the Call of the Morrigan. Is I was just like, you know, in this community, and I even said, and I use that term loosely, because this to me is not a community. You know, I've seen that people talk badly about her stuff and put her down in a way that does not seem like it's a critique of her work. It's a criticism or a put down, and I have a problem with that. It's very un-Morrigan-esque to me to fight amongst each other. I don't think she approves of that, frankly.
And I'm not in that community because I respect the Morrigan. I have several friends who are her daughters, and each person is different. There's always, none of them are the same. None of them have the same kind of practice. And I honestly think that some of when you criticize somebody, it comes off as petty jealousy.
I would agree 100%. It seems to me that there's certain individuals on there that just, you know, have issue with the fact that she seems to have such a close and almost nurturing relationship. But it's not nurturing. I mean, I don't think the Morrigan nurtures in the way that, you know, like Caradwood nurtures. You know, it's not the same manifestation, but it's still a nurturing, and it's the nurturing that you need. And who is anybody else to put that relationship down or to say that it's not real or genuine? How do you know?
And if you're a parent and you have more than one child, do you parent them all exactly the same?
Absolutely not. They are all individual people that have their own needs, and some of them more than others.
Oh yeah. But so I like that, and I think that's a point that needs to be made, that, you know, you don't parent all your children exactly the same.
No, you don't.
A deity be a one note, one dimension energy exchange? I don't get that.
And that's what irritates me too about people that consistently refer to her as a dark goddess, because to me, I don't like those nomenclatures. To me, that doesn't go with the gnosis that I've had in coming to know her. But also, I think it negates it sends up in people who are not familiar an idea of good versus bad or evil versus good, which is not the case. There's light and dark to everything. Yes. You can't appreciate the light without the dark, and you can't see the light without the dark. So, you know, there's those aspects to everything and everyone on the planet. So to constantly refer to her and only bring up those dark aspects, I think does a great disservice and a dishonor to the Morrigan. She's so much more intricate and in depth than that. You cannot just put her in a box, and you can't just define her in such a way. And one person's perception, just as like you said with a parent, is, you know, it's like, I had a discussion on Lay Loken's channel a while back about this very thing.
Is that Hellbound?
Yes, Hellbound Heathen now is what he calls himself.
He's in the chat now.
Yeah, he actually, it was like a year and a half ago now, somebody was on there saying, you know, oh, what's fact versus, you know, perception. And my point was this: you have two kids who grew up in the same household, raised pretty much the same way, okay? Maybe a year or two apart, but, you know, they're raised pretty much the same way. One child perceives the parents as being strict but loving. The other child perceives the parents as being abusive emotionally or disciplinarian in some way. Whose perception is correct? Where's the fact? My argument is it lies somewhere in the middle, that they're both right, because reality is what one perceives and conceives of and acts upon. That becomes their reality. So my reality may not necessarily match yours exactly. And I think you see that in court cases when they get witnesses up there and two witnesses have differing stories. Well, they're telling what they perceived was going on. at that time. And I think it's the same way. I was wondering.
To get on top of my stuff, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
I saw the get down look, the death stare. I was wondering. I wasn't sure if it was something I said or what. But no, I just think that if people are so set on their own perceptions, they're not willing to be open to somebody else's, especially if it doesn't match their conceptualization of what it is. But that doesn't make it any less a fact or a truth or a reality.
Sometimes I think it's that the unknown fear and a fear of not being completely secure in your own beliefs. Therefore, anybody who challenges your belief system must be the enemy, rather than just being a provocateur or somebody who just wants to poke. My husband's a poker. He'll poke at you, to get you to think and reiterate and kind of process. And sometimes it just flat pisses me off.
Yeah. I try sometimes to be like that, but it's more curiosity because I want to hear what that person has to say, because I believe that we have a lot to learn from each other, and I'm not trying to convince anybody of my way, because you can't convince someone who's set in their thoughts. I long ago gave up convincing my mother that what she believed wasn't necessarily true for everyone. I just had to accept the fact that her truth is not mine. And at this point, it's just come to the point where I just like to invoke in her some thinking, because I want her to think for herself instead of be in what her mother wanted her to believe, or what, she was taught isn't necessarily true for everyone.
Right. I'm posting in the chat room and I keep looking down. They're having a very lively chat. Are y'all paying attention?
I was going to say, is anybody even listening?
Yeah, we've had 37 people in right now.
Oh, do we? Hey, more than I expected. I was lucky if I got 2 or 3. Woo!
So we kind of talked about deity, so we're gonna skip and ask what you do for self-care. How do you set up a Natalie self-care day?
Oh Lord, does that
keep it clean?
Is there such a thing? See, channeling Mr. Harkett's younger brother once again.
No.
Self-care. I'm sorry, I know it's terrible. I hope he never ever sees this, because we actually do talk. We had a mutual friend who passed away a few years ago, and he was in Brazil with, I'm sure you know who Morton Harkett is, the lead singer of Aha. Okay, yeah. Well, his younger brother and I had a mutual friend. She passed away, and I wrote him and said, I didn't want you to hear about it on Facebook. Are you aware that this happened? And ever since then, he and I have been kind of chatting back and forth. And I'm like, my husband's like, so when's he going to come visit? I said, he's not going to come visit, but you can pack my bag in case he does.
I would say you can pack your bag in case he does.
Here. Yeah, I'll be out of here. I'm going to Norway. But in any case, Natalie self-care, it's funny, because being that I own my own business, I have, now you're talking speech therapy, but I also have my Purple Broom Apothecary, and actually Now You're Talking eats my lunch all the time. I mean, I see clients, I have 2 assistants, we just got a new contract, we're working on getting a couple more contracts, so I don't get a lot of spare time. I mean, I see clients from usually 8, 9 in the morning till about 8 or 9 at night, and then it's doing all the documentation, so I'm working till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, go to bed, get up, do it again. It's just recently that I've been having Saturdays and Sundays off, because I was seeing clients on Saturdays and sometimes even on Sundays if I had to squeeze them in. When I do get time to try to take care of myself, I write books like this one. I'm so proud of myself. I finally got it published. But I read. I absorb myself in books. I'm a big bookworm, and I like to read. I try to meditate on a regular basis just to ground myself, because if I don't, I go nuts with all of the stress that is my life. If I can sneak it out, I like to do something fun, like go get my hands and feet done.
Right.
That doesn't happen very often. Go get the hair done.
What?
Yeah, I know. I just found a guy in Plano who specializes in curly hair, but he charges a fortune. So I was like, can I squeeze it out somewhere to go and at least get it done once every couple of months? So reading is kind of my thing, just to get away. I just like to shut down everything. I like to shut down all the electronics, which is hard for me because it's the only way I'm connected to anybody other than people from work. You know, Facebook is my life. It's kind of pathetic, really, but it's true. All my friends are online. And it's really sad, but it's true because, you know, I mean, I have friends that are in England. I have friends in Norway. I have a pen pal. We've been writing to each other since 7th grade that I talk to on Facebook. So it's hard for me to disconnect from that, but I do try. A lot of times I'll come here to my office because I don't have an actual phone line in my office. So I can turn off my phone and I can just sit and take a nap, uninterrupted, meditate, do something witchy. I mean, honestly, crafting and doing crafty things like making, you know, I started making my flying ointments and in batches and doing salves and things like that. I find that relaxing.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that sometimes we don't think about, is that people who do a lot of mental stuff, that handwork or doing something with your hands brings you down and into your body more, and it's very relaxing.
It is,
So
very much so.
I
I crochet and I knit and I embroider and I sew, like also little pouches. I find sewing probably one of the most relaxing things I can do because I don't have a machine. So everything I sew by hand. So like I made a friend of mine robes for her daughters. She had a baby and I made a little Wiccaning gown for the baby. And every stitch was by hand. So it may not always be even, but it's all stitched with love. But and my grandmother would roll over in her grave because she would make us quilt, you know. So it was, stitches had to be even and she would rip them all out and make us do it again and again and again until they were all straight. But I find that very relaxing. So also like little tarot bags or altar cloths, or, you know, because to me it's just mindless. It's stick.
And your Purple Broom Apothecary, is that an Etsy store or is it a website?
It's a website.
Okay.
So I have my own website
for people, so people can go check out some of the Natalie goodness that's out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to expand the website right now. The shop is limited because I can only have so many items on the shop under the way it's constructed right now. But if I can ever start getting it to actually make money, I could invest back into it and expand the website a little and offer more products. Because right now I have the maximum amount of products on there, but they can go to my Facebook page too. If they look up Purple Broom Apothecary on Facebook, I actually can sell anything from the shop on the Facebook page because I can PayPal and invoice. So sometimes I'll put things on there that I can't fit onto the shop itself.
So we'll have to get all that information down in the drop down so people can, the people out there who are crazy and aren't subscribed to you yet can find you.
Thanks.
Right? But we need to go find her, people. Now, let me ask you this. We're kind of getting down to the end. I actually, I just looked at the time and thought, oops, got to take the husband.
Yeah, I know. Lunch. It's like I was going, oh my gosh.
I feel like I could talk to you all day, but it's probably the Texas thing because I like East Texas girls and South Texas girls. So.
Well, next time, I'm from San Antonio. I live in Dallas, Denton area. You know, it's up north, but yeah, I'm from the San Antonio area. New Braunfels.
My best friend lives down in Hearst, so.
Oh, there you go. So you know it. So yeah, if you're in the area.
Yeah, and actually, I'll talk to you offline because I think I'm going to be pretty soon. But
very good.
Let me ask you two last questions.
Okay.
One is ghost story time. Do you have a ghost story you can share with us? Funny, scary, doesn't matter?
Lots. Actually, my parents' house, I refuse to go back to my parents' house, period.
Ooh.
Multiple reasons, some of them emotional, but my parents' bedroom, every time somebody walks into that room, nothing happens. I walk into that room and the door will shut. And we're not talking like it shuts like the wind and it clicks. We're talking, it is a slow movement that the door will shut and click behind me every time. And I've actually seen apparitions in my parents' house. One time, I tend to be a pretty hefty sleeper. Like I sleep through tornadoes. The family worries because they don't know how to get me in there. And I'm like, I saw a meme the other day with Donald Duck where it's like 3 a.m. tornado warning. It's like, if I die, it's my time. That would be me, because I just don't care. If it's my time to go, I'm going to go. So I'm going back to sleep. But I was asleep one night and I felt someone come in and sit on my bed, and I thought it was my mother, and I didn't want her to think that she had woken me up. So I kind of just sort of peeked out from the blanket. There was an indention in the bed. I could feel someone stroking my face like this, but there was nobody there. Yeah. So I was kind of like, you know, and I figured, you know, just pretend to be asleep. If they wanted to hurt you, obviously they would have, you know, because they were just kind of, you know, stroking my hair like this. So that's why I thought it was my mother. So when I looked out, I mean, my initial response was, oh shit, you know, because it wasn't my mom. And I was like, do I run? Do I just sit here? Well, they're sitting right there. Can I get past them? You know, so I just stayed put. But the scariest experience I had was going back to my mom and dad's room. Back in the mid 80s, I was going through kind of a dark period in my childhood, which was pretty dark to begin with. But I was reading a series of books called the Dark Forces books. And I have not seen them around anymore, but I collect dolls. My grandmother used to make dolls for me when I was younger. And so I have a large collection of dolls. And there was this book called The Doll. And my parents used to bowl a lot. They would do this like midnight bowling where they would go to the bowling alley at midnight. And they would shut off all the lights in the bowling alley except for the lane lights. And they would bowl, and they would win trips to like Corpus Christi and stuff like that. And I got real sick of hanging out in the bowling alley with my parents. So I convinced them to let me stay home because it was midnight anyway. And so I'm sitting there reading this book, and the way my parents' house was set up is you'd walk in their front door and there was like a little one-step foyer. And if you stepped down to the left, you were in the dining room, which then connected to the kitchen by a little pocket door, which then connected to the living room. Or if you stepped down to the front, the hallway to the bedrooms was immediately to the right, and you were in the living room. So it's like it made a little circle.
Yeah.
And they had a chair sitting there in the front of the hallway that looked straight down to my parents' room. And I'm sitting in that chair, and then we had like a fireplace with two sliding glass doors. And my dog Ginger was outside. So I'm sitting in the chair, the hallway's here, and I'm reading this book, and all of a sudden I get this overwhelming sensation that I am being watched, and not in a pleasant way. So I'm kind of like, And I turn and I look down the hall, and it just overwhelmed me. It was very malicious feeling. I mean, it was not good, whatever it was. And so I was kind of like, oh, this is weird. And so I was thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
And because I didn't know if somebody was in the house or what it was. And it's weird because thinking back on it, it didn't feel human. You know, it didn't feel like a person watching me. It was something.
Yeah.
So I let my dog in. Now, my dog never growled. She barked, but she never growled. And she ran around, you know, into the kitchen because at first she was just so excited about being able to be in the house. So she's like running around this little circle. She comes to a dead stop in front of the hallway, turns her head slowly down the hall, looks straight towards my parents' bedroom, which was pitch black. And every hair on her body stood up, and she growled.
Oh, no.
For a full minute. And then she just went like that and just walked off like nothing happened. And so I kept her in the house with me the rest of the night till my parents came home. But I told my parents about it, and my mom thought I was crazy. You know, she sent my dad in there. Nothing was there, you know, but there have always been weird things that have happened in that house. Things disappear, and we will tear the house apart looking for it. And you'll come in and it'll just be sitting right there.
Yeah.
You know, now my parents are hoarders, so, you know, that may factor in a little bit, but, you know, I mean, it would be in a place where you had already looked.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've had that happen, but I had a playful ghost. It was called a JG, the jewelry ghost. Yeah, this one was playful. And you can ask her, but I understand what you've got.
For me now, like with the Fae, I very much believe in the Fae, and they tease me. So I think some of that played into that. But there were other things like, oh yeah, another story. Oh my God, this was awful. My mother's aunt was married to a man named Harvey, Charlotte and Harvey. Well, Harvey passed away. So my aunt Charlotte fulfilled his final wish to travel the country by carrying Harvey around in a cigar box. My grandfather did not want Harvey in their home, so Harvey got installed in our garage while my Aunt Charlotte was visiting my grandmother. So I'm in the kitchen one day making myself something, and I hear this, Natalie Suzzann, get out here right now. And it's my dad. I'm thinking, what the hell did I do in the garage? Because, I didn't do anything. So I go out there, and there's my dad. I spilled your Uncle Harvey. Help me get him back in the box. So we're sitting there sweeping Harvey back into the cigar box. And he's like, don't say anything to your mother. And I was like, no way am I saying anything to Mom. So my sister at the time was married to a man named Lonnie. And Lonnie is African-American, and he's very dark-skinned. And he used to, play golf with the Spurs. He had a car detailing business. He worked at the hospital cleaning up operating rooms, but then he had a side business detailing cars. And so he got in with the doctors, who then got him in with the Spurs players and stuff. And so he was getting ready to go one day, and he looks down the hall, and he just turned literally white as a sheet. I mean, drained. And he starts backing up. And he fell over the couch, and he stood up, and he took off out the door. And he didn't come back for like 24 hours. He finally comes home. We're having dinner the next night. And my sister's like, Lonnie Keith, like, what the hell happened to you yesterday? And he doesn't say anything to my sister. He turns to my mother, and he goes, Miss Nay, I saw a man. And it wasn't Mr. John. And my mom said, well, what do you mean you saw a man? He goes, he was going into Nana's room. He calls me Nana. He goes, he was going into Nana's room. And I'm like, what the hell is going in my room? What is it about me? And she's like, well, what do you mean? What did he look like? So he starts describing this man. And my mom goes, well, that sounds just like my Uncle Harvey. And my dad and I look at each other from across the table. And I was like, fork midway up. And I just went. So we're just eating. So yeah, Harvey's been apparently an installation in the household since, because other people have seen him since then. But I never knew Uncle Harv, but for some reason he pegged out my room.
Well, did you dust off after you were cleaning in the garage?
Oh, I honestly don't know if I did. But, we were just concerned with getting as much of it, because I was like, who else is in here with Harv, How do you really know who you're getting?
Right?
My dad's like, just shut up and sweep, so, yeah.
Your dad and you sound a lot alike.
Yeah, my dad's like promptly handing the cigar backs back to my grandfather. You take Harvey, but yeah. So those are just a few of the, lovely.
I love it. Now, let me ask you the very last question, and it is, Natalie Suzzann,
yes.
Will you marry? No, it is.
Why? I thought you'd never ask.
It is.
They said it would never happen.
Right? They said it would never last. Well, what's your best advice for someone just starting out on their path? Just blank slate. I want to be a witch. What are you going to say to them is the one thing you wish somebody had told you?
Well, somebody did tell me. Best advice I ever got. Do your research. Don't rely on one source, one person's view. Get out there and research for yourself. I have found, as I've gotten deeper into the craft, that a lot of people come to you when you seem knowledgeable, and they want to ask a million questions. And I don't have a problem with answering people's questions, but it seems to me that there are a lot of people that just don't want to do their own research. They want you to answer exactly. Well, you don't grow that way. Trina did the best thing she could for me. She said, Dr. Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft, read it. Well, once I read that, I needed to read something else, and then something else, and then it was Scott Cunningham, and then it was this and that and that and this, and I started expanding. Christopher Penchick, and I hope I'm saying his name right. Raven Grimassi. And my thoughts and prayers with Mr. Grimassi. He has just been through something so strenuous. He finally made a post about it on Facebook recently. So if he happens to see this, Mr. Grimassi, I am so glad you are still with us. My prayers and my energy to you and your healing, sir. He was dealing with the big C word. So I was wondering why he'd been quiet for so long, because he had been very vocal and then just all of a sudden just nothing. And I was wondering what happened to Raven Grimassi. So in any case, I started reading and researching and learning more and watching other people's videos and expanding my knowledge base and learning about this path and that path and incorporating. And so I think doing your research opens out doors for you about which path is really the right path for you. When you rely on somebody else's views and ideas and opinions solely, and you don't take the effort to go out and look for yourself, you lose out on a lot. So do your research.
And I would analogy that, because I love analogies. Did you only have one teacher for your entire time in school?
Exactly. Of course not.
Yeah.
Your parents are your very first teacher, and you take those lessons and you move on, and then you have other teachers throughout your life, not just in school. I mean, we learn from our fellow students too. All those bullying sessions carry a lesson with them, folks. So, it either makes you stronger or you crumble. So, it's getting out there and learning on your own and finding what's right for you, and not taking to heart what somebody tells you about you should and you shouldn't do this. Because I don't think that, to me, somebody that says, you can only do it this way, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I tend to tune that out really quick.
Yeah, I'm a
Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, isn't that interesting? Bless your heart. It's so Southern. Bless your heart.
Somebody asked me to define bless your heart.
You're
and
an
I
idiot.
said, it is a left-hand compliment that you do, like, did you see that dress Natalie wore to church last week? It almost made her look skinny.
Yeah, don't you love it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, bless your heart is Southern code for you're an idiot.
Yeah, and or I'm a bitch.
Or both, in my case.
Right? It can go both ways. Thank you so much. I have so many questions I didn't ask. I really would like to set up another interview with you where we just talk about shit, because you were fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
I
would love to do that.
I didn't realize you were a Texas girl. I've got East Texas and South Texas, and then Austin. I've got relatives. We're kind of a Texas group.
I was born in Denver, but don't tell anyone that. I'm wearing the Texas ring. See the James Avery? It's a James Avery. I'm Texas.
Right. I lived in Denver for 10 years, so.
I love Kerrville. I love the hill country. That's my part of Texas.
Oh, yeah. Pretty up there. I really have fallen in love with West Texas, and I live in eastern New Mexico. I'm literally triangulated from Amarillo and Lubbock.
Yeah. I like the desert. I do like that's my problem, is I like all aspects of nature. I can live in a forest quite happy. But I also like the desert and the mountains and the beach. I love the beach. So it just depends on which mood you catch me in. I'll say, oh, that's my favorite. Tomorrow it'll be, that's my favorite. 10 minutes later, well, that's my favorite. And,
she has Gemini rising, I think. No.
I would love to schedule another interview with you. It may be tricky. I mean, you saw how my schedule flux and changes as it goes. I wish you did them on the weekends, because that would be ideal for me, but I understand you need a break.
Yeah, that's the really, my husband works really long hours. He works kind of like you. Like today, he's left at 8. He won't be back till 9. So, and he works close. I can go take him lunch, but thank you, and thank you to everybody that showed up. We have 47 people in right now, so here's my shout out to everybody that's in the YouTube channel right now. Everybody, if you have at least 10 videos up, hit me up for an interview. Just go to tarotbyarwen.com/appointments, choose interview slot, and slot yourself in. I do not care if you don't think you're anybody. You're somebody to me, and I would love to talk to you. Okay? So hook me up. Now, Natalie, when I say goodbye, I always say, seek joy, y'all. How do you say goodbye on your videos?
See ya. I usually say, catch you later, blessed be. Some of that shit.
Some of that shit. Okay.
That's going to be my new out from now on.
I love it. Some of that shit. Seek joy, y'all. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.